Hey friends. I had some thoughts come through this morning that had to do with looking at my whole life in particular, but I think as a strategy for life, it's helpful for me. I can't say this for everyone, but it's helpful for me to look back at my past and simply acknowledge certain periods or certain events where I feel like I kind of went maybe a little bit off course. You know, the switchbacks in the path that lead us upwards and onwards. I've had a sense that for some reason recently, as I've dug into some of my own patterns over the last couple of weeks and months, there's just been a feeling that it's like this underbelly that feels like it's telling me I'm still here. And I think what I've been discovering excuse me, is that, you know, a lot of times when that happens, our tendency is to want to say, stay down there, dark stuff that I don't really like to look at. Stay away. You're in the basement for a reason. And it's totally understandable, and it's you know, it's so involuntary that I think many of us don't even know we're doing that a lot of the time. But then there are moments that'll happen, like what's been happening to me over the last couple of weeks, where all of a sudden I'll feel like I'm being connected to that part of myself. I'm being connected to that, for whatever reason, a door is opening and a little of that stuff is seeping through into the conscious mind. And it's like my first impulse, of course, is always to want to look away, and my mind wants to start to compensate and explain why actually this dark stuff is really light stuff, because it's all part of learning, and it's all going to make me, it's all part of what I needed to learn in order to get to where I am now. And you know, there's a tendency to kind of paper over or band-aid over the pain and the discomfort of seeing either what I would consider errors that I've made, or moments when my integrity lapsed. You know, those are not. I think most of us probably have at least some of that in our past, and it's just never fun to look at. So my first impulse is look away. But more recently, I think I've had a willingness to say, okay, let's acknowledge this. Let's not pretend anything is different than it is. Not pretend that anything had to be this way in order for me to learn, which is not even untrue. A lot of times that's totally true. But there are also cases in which I can look at, I don't know, things I've done or ways I've behaved, and I can go, I didn't really need to do that in order to know that wasn't right. You know, I didn't need that lesson. Like, the only lesson I really learned was, yep, after all, doing things that are out of integrity leads to you feeling more shitty or whatever. You know, it's a kind of like very binary, pretty simple lesson, and it feels like might not have needed to do that. Might not have needed that lesson, you know, as many times as I learned it or whatever. Now, I'm sure that there's somebody out there that would make the opposite case, where you could make a case that maybe you do need it every single time. But I think what I'm sort of working with is not so much that it's bad. What I'm coming to, what I'm trying to articulate, is not so much that it's bad to reframe those things in the affirmative and make productive use of the information while not wallowing in a kind of, oh, why did I, you know, whatever kind of guilt, shame thing that we might get into. I'm not advocating that, but I'm advocating letting those things land in such a way that they affect us and inform us. So that I can see really what I did, and I kind of have to face it in that naked, vulnerable, icky way, and just acknowledge it, in order to then be able to see past it. Because that's the thing about either avoiding looking at something ugly in ourselves, or looking at something ugly in ourselves, but so quickly reframing it into some sort of positive thing that we needed for our journey or something like that. You know, a kind of like knee-jerk self-help response. There's something about either of those two approaches that actually prevents us from ever seeing past the thing. And what we really want, if we want to evolve, is to be able to see past the thing. We want the thing that feels so ugly and hard to accept to kind of come into context and be what it is, have the significance that it actually has, and become something that we can genuinely move past and really kind of no longer be wrestling with, no longer feel the need to reframe. You know, and a lot of it just comes down to like simple honesty, simply being honest with ourselves and being transparent to ourselves. Because that really is where movement happens. There really is redemption on the other side of that. There is a place where we move on and we are free of our past karma. That is possible, but it's not possible until we really sort of fully acknowledge and feel and stop resisting our karma. And that's what's happened. That's where I'm at right now. That's something that's coming up for it. It's for whatever reason, you know, I think maybe I started reading my journals from many years ago. Maybe a couple months ago I started doing that. I haven't done a ton of it, but it's I've done enough to kind of keep me going. Oh right, yeah, there's this chapter in my life. Oh right, yeah, this chapter in my life. Helpful exercise actually, because it's like I'll remember things, and sometimes I'll think to myself, wow, I have really just outgrown that. That has no hook for me whatsoever. I can see exactly what I did, and you know, I can understand my behavior at that time in my life, but I don't have to. But nothing about it affects me or triggers me now. And then there's other things where I'm like, ooh, still don't really want to look at that. So these are great opportunities to get back in the trenches of my own subconscious and go, all right, what's really here? What am I resisting? What am I resisting seeing? What am I resisting acknowledging? Because most likely those things are blocking the flow of abundance, success, joy, love right now in my life. And let's see if we can resolve that. Why let those sticking points remain sticking points if all I have to do is look at them and be honest? Right? So that's what's showing up. And funny enough, the music today, of course, as always, this is becoming like a really consistent thing. I think I had a flash just now about running a workshop doing this, because the music that I play, it's like the thought, I came here with a really vaguely formed thought, and the music somehow spins it or somehow allows the cloud to condense enough so that it can rain down the content. Weird image, but okay. It's quite a thing. It's quite a thing how the music orients my thinking, and I know that this is something that anybody can do. So anyway, I'll come back to you with more on that. Sounds exciting. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Much love. See you soon.